Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, Matt's going to be teaching you 3 songs from Avatar: The Last Airbender. So we thought this would be a really cool lesson to put out this week because Netflix recently picked up the show and introduced it into their streaming catalog. So I know a lot of fans are getting to reminisce, and you guys are rewatching the show 2 or 3 times, and it's just a lot of fun, and the show had some great music. So in this lesson, you guys are going to get to learn 3 of the tunes from the show, and I've got to say that they are very beginner friendly. Now, with that said, there are a few challenging things, specifically with the last tune, which is the Avatar's Love. It has a tricky bar chord, and if you are new to tackling bar chords as a beginner player, what's really important is not only what happens in front of the neck, but also what's happening behind the neck. So if you're new to tackling those type of chords, check out this lesson, which is all about proper left-hand form. So let's talk about this video really quick. So in this video, you guys are going to learn all 3 tunes. Now, if you want to get the tabs to print off and follow along with, that will be available at this link, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Avatar. Now, also on that page will be the on-screen tab viewer. Now, this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset in learning these songs that much easier. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Matt to teach you how to play it, and then I'll see you at the end of the video.
Today we're going to learn a 3-part medley of themes from Avatar: The Last Airbender, one of my all-time favorite shows, and I've been playing with these themes for a while, and I'm just so excited to share them with you. But let's go ahead and start with the first theme, which is called Winter, Spring, Summer, and Fall. Now, this is in some ways the most difficult because it's got the most chords, but it's still very simple overall. So let's go ahead and start with melody A here, measure 1. So to start, we're going to play an A minor chord, and it's really simple. We just leave our strings open, and we're going to strum our C, E, and A strings. Now, throughout this tutorial, there's 2 ways that you can play it. You can use your thumb and strum through the strings, or you can use your fingers and pluck the strings. Whatever you're more comfortable with works for this, and you can kind of switch between them depending on what sort of sound you want. So we start here by playing the A minor, and then we go to what's called an A minor / E. To do this, we take our middle finger, place it on the 4th fret of the C string, ring finger on the 5th fret of the E string, and our index here on the 3rd fret of the A. We're not going to play the G string, we're just going to play our C, E, and A together. And then the end of this measure is going to be a D minor / F. To do this, you take your index finger and you bar it all the way across the 5th fret, making sure you're getting a really good tone on the C, E, and A strings. You're going to strum the C, E, and A together, again, foregoing the G string. And that's the first measure. So in time, that sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now the next part here, measure 2, you're going to be staying where you are at this 5, and you're going to strum through this D minor / F again. And then you're going to take your ring finger, add it on 7 of the A, and then pinky on 8 of the A. And then you take it all off for open, back to that sort of A minor. So measuring 2 is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now at this point you'll notice there's a repeat sign. So we're going to play measures 1 and 2, and then we're going to play 1 and 2 a second time. So that sounds something like this. Measures 1, 2, then repeat 1, 2. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now at this point, we go on to measure 3. Luckily, measure 3 is exactly the same as measure 1. Identical in every way. So we play that first measure. But then measure 4, things start to change a little bit. We're still here barred all the way across the 5th fret, but now we're going to strum through our C, E, and A, And then we're going to play our G string here to get that C note. Then we're going to take our ring finger, place on 7 of the A. Then we're going to take that ring finger off, playing 5 on the A. And then we're going to move down to our A minor / E chord that we played before. So this middle finger here is going to go to 4 on the C, ring finger to 5 on the E, index here at 3 on the A. And then we're going to play all open. So measure 4, which is a little tricky, sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you'll notice it's another repeat. So measures 3 and 4 are played twice. So here's what measures 3 and 4 sound like. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So here is the entirety of melody A, winter, spring, summer, and fall. It should sound like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's a very beautiful melody, and it's all about the sustain. This first one, it's so critical that you let those notes ring as long as they can. But now we're going to go on to the second melody, and if I tear up or cry during this, and you're an Avatar fan, you'll know why. This is Leaves from the Vine, or the Soldier Boy song. Very, very emotional tune. Again, it's amazing what an animated kid show can do to an adult. But this tune is my favorite of the medley, and so let's go ahead and start now with Melody B, Leaves from the Vine. We're going to start with what's called an F5 chord. To play this, index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string, and ring finger here to the 3rd fret of the A string. This here is an F5 without playing our G string. So we're going to do the C, E, and A together. Now here's a trick. Because the next 2 notes are going to be 3 on the A, then 1 on the A, what I do on this F5 is I take my index and I actually bar it across the 1 on the E and the A strings to start. So now I play through, and I play the 3 on the A, and then when I play the 1 on the A, I just have to take my ring finger off because this index finger is barred there. To get a good bar, you want to make sure you're right up next to that fret wire and that you're pushing down, but you're also pulling back just a little bit to pinch on that A string. This bar is going to come in handy in the next melody too, so really make sure you get comfortable with it. Then from this, we're going to go to 0 on the C and 5 on the E, but we need to do this little slide into it. You see the little marker on the tab there? That means to slide into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our ring finger, we're going to place it on the 3rd fret of the E string, we're going to play the 0 on the C and the 3 on the E together, and then we're going to slide that ring finger up to 5 on the E. The trick to getting a good slide is to increase the pressure ever so gently as you're making the movement up. So that's measure 5. Sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, as we go on to measure 6, we're going to go back to that same F5 chord. We're going to play the 0 on the C and the 1 on the E again. And then we're going to play 3 on the A twice. And then 1 on the A, just taking away that ring finger. Same slide into 5. But then at the end of measure 6, we're going to take that ring finger and we're going to move it back down to 3. So measure 6 in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, it's actually very important that we move our ring finger down there to 3 because of what happens in the next measure. But just so that we can hear it, here's measures 5 and 6 in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now as we go on to measure 7, you'll notice we're going to go to that 5 and 0 again. So that ring finger, which should be there on 3, you're going to pluck the C and E strings and slide that ringer up to 5 for that first note on measure 7. And then we're going to play the 5 again, and then one more time. And then we're going to play that 5, but slide it down to 3. You'll notice that the note on the tab is now that 3 with the slide marker written down. You play it on the 5 and slide down to the 3. And then we're going to play 1 on the E string with the index. So measure 7 in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Oops, excuse me. So I just made a mistake there. It's really easy to make these mistakes and get kind of psyched out, right? The count on this is that you're going to have 1, and then you'll notice it's immediately on and going to move to the next chord. That makes it a little bit intimidating. Even for me teaching it, it's easy to get psyched out. So let's go ahead and try that again, nice and slow. Remember that it's 1 and. Kind of telling this to myself too. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now we go on to measure 8. Measure 8, I think, is a little bit simpler overall. We're going to do that same slide from 3 to 5, and then we're going to play the 5 again, one more time. Then we slide down to the 3, and then we play the open on the C and 1 on the E together. So measure 8 in time sounds something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So here's measures 7 and 8 in time so that you can hear it. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now from here, we go on to measure 9. Measure 9 is exactly the same as measure 5, which is pretty cool. Well, almost exactly the same. Same frets are going to be played. We're going to play the 0 on the C, 1 on the E, and 3 on the A. But instead of holding it and then playing the 3 just one time, we're going to play it twice. So it's the 0, 1, 3, and then the 3 2 more times, followed by 1 on the A, and then the slide to 5. So measure 9 sounds like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we go on to measure 10. Measure 10 is going to be back at the same shape. We're going to play the C and E strings, and then 3 on the A twice, and then 1 on the A, and then the slide into 5. So measure 10 sounds something like this in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. So here's measures 9 and 10 in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Going right on now to measure 11. We're going to start with that same slide. And then we're going to play 5 on the E again. And then we're going to slide it down to 3. And then we're going to play 1. So that whole measure in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then measure 12 to finish Leaves from a Vine. We're going to slide into 5. Then we're going to play the 5 on the E a second time. Then we're going to slide into 3. And then we're going to play 1 on the E with open on the C using our index finger. This is a really great measure to really show the importance of the fingering with this, because you see that we're taking that 3, we're sliding up to 5, we're playing 5 again, then we're playing that 5 and sliding it down to 3. So that ring finger is getting a lot of work. My ring finger, if you look at it, see the big indentation? It's because your finger might get sore when you're working on all these slides, but it's well worth the tone. But then when you go down to the 1, the index finger is there to kind of catch it. So here's what measure 12 sounds like in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And here's measures 11 and 12 in time. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And here is the whole melody B, Leaves from a Vine. Now, one thing I want to say is when you're playing this, there are rhythm markers for a reason, but if you've listened to Iro and the show sing this, play it from your heart. It's okay to hold some notes a little bit longer, have others go shorter, as long as you're trying to create the sound. Remember that this tune is really supposed to be simulating kind of an ancient folk song, and it's not meant to be played with a band and a metronome as much as it is to be played with rubato and feeling. So keep that in mind when you're playing through it. But it should sound something like this from measure 5 through 12. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Such a pretty melody. So from here we go on to melody C, the Avatar's Love. This is a really nice theme, and this is the hardest theme, not because it requires the most complicated stuff, but it's got the hardest chord that we're going to be holding. This opening chord now of melody C is a C major 7, and it's a doozy. Remember earlier when I mentioned the bar and how important it would be? It's because of this chord. So this chord is 4, 4, 3, 3. The way we play this, the way we start is we take our index finger and we bar it on the E and the A strings on the 3rd fret. Now the ideal way of playing this chord is to take your middle finger and bar it across the 4 on the G and the C strings, making sure that you're not touching the E and the A. This is like mastering earthbending. It's quite challenging. And what you want to make sure you do if you do this is that you're taking your middle finger and you're not trying to enclose it all within the strings this way. It's okay for the finger to kind of come up. In fact, where my finger naturally bends is at this first knuckle. So I kind of put my C string right around here so that the E and the A kind of can be bent off. Now, this might feel physically impossible for you when you first start trying it, and that's totally normal. It felt physically impossible for me the first time I tried it. It actually took a long time before I could play this chord voicing. So it's kind of like yoga. You gotta stretch a little bit, and it takes some practice, but I believe in you and you can get it. If you're really struggling with this and it's just not working, another way that you can do it is with your index finger there. Take your middle finger, place on the 4th fret of the G string, and then stack your ring finger underneath on 4 of the C. No matter what, though, this is the sort of voicing that we have to play, but it's worth it because of the sound it creates. So once we can comfortably get a tone there, you'll notice actually playing this melody is very easy, right? Fretting it, very hard. Playing it, very easy. Because all that it is we're going to play this chord, and we're going to go A, as in the A string, G, E, C. A, G, E, C. And that's it. That's the whole measure 13. A, G, E, C. And you'll notice on this high G ukulele, that's just descending with the notes. Now, the most important thing is making sure you get good sustain, because if you do this, it doesn't sound as good as this. The difference is I'm maintaining that pressure with the chord. So this is very difficult, but it's well worth it because of the tone that you can get from it, and it requires just a bit of practice. Again, think of Aang earthbending, and same sort of deal. So measure 13 in time sounds something like this, and you'll notice measure 13 has a repeat, so we play it through twice. So here's measure 13, both times through. 2 and 3 and 4 and. Repeat. Pretty cool. Now as we go on to measure 14, we're going to play index on 1 of the E string. We're going to play that with the open C string, just those 2 strings, that's all. Then we're going to play open on the E string, so just take that index off. And then we're going to play 1 on the E again, and then open on the C. Then we're going to play the 0 and the 1 together again. Then we're going to play open on the E. And a little trickiness here. We're going to play 1 on the E string again. We're going to do a pull off, followed by open on the C. So do the pull off. I'm playing the 1 on the E string, and then I'm using my finger to pluck the string as I come off, and then play the open C. So measure 14 in time is something like this. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that's with the repeat that's built in there too. Now, what's really fun about this is from here, you essentially just do the same thing again. So measure 15 is exactly the same as measure 13 with the same repeat. And then measure 16 is exactly the same as measure 14 with the same repeat. So measures 15 and 16 are identical to measures 13 and 14. So this whole section is really only 2 bars where each bar is repeated, right? Measure 13, then we play 13 again. Measure 14, then we play 14 again. Measure 15, then we play 15 again. Measure 16, then we play 16 again. So here's what it all sounds like. Measures 13, 14, 15, 16 with all the repeats to complete section C, the Avatar's Love. And you'll notice that I'm going to slow down and speed up as I play this. I'll speed up a little bit at first, and I'll slow down as I come through with it, because just like the earlier song, it really sounds best with some of that rubato. So here we go. 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that is the end of the Avatar medley. I hope you've enjoyed working on it. It really is a good beginner song, but there's a lot of challenging things for beginners. If you're a more advanced player, it's really about getting the best tone and control you can out of this. And it's honestly, it's what I've been playing pretty much nonstop for the last couple of weeks. So hope you guys enjoy this. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Also, what's your favorite Avatar character? Leave it down in the comments below. If we get enough of them, I'll share what mine is. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys next time on the next lesson here on Rock Class 101. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, so I hope you had a lot of fun learning these tunes. They have such great melodies, and they're not super duper challenging, with the exception of that tricky chord in the last tune. But again, if you need extra help on bar chords, I will put that lesson that I mentioned in the beginning of this video in the description box below, which is all about developing proper left-hand form. So it really, really helps you tackle these tough little bar chords, but also gives you a recap on some of the basic chord shapes as well. So I do want to remind you guys, if you want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records for these songs, you can do so by clicking this link or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for Avatar. Don't forget, on that page is also the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer, so you can hit play, you can watch that tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.